Let's dive right into this explainer. If you're anything like me, just hearing the word selling might immediately bring up feelings of anxiety, high pressure, and honestly, that overwhelming fear of rejection. But what if we completely flip that script? What if we approach selling not as some pushy, high-pressure pitch, but as an epic hero's journey? Today, we're unpacking Tom Hopkins' legendary strategies from How to Master the Art of Selling, and we're going to completely transform how you view this profession, upgrading you from an everyday professional into a literal sales champion. But right off the bat, before we look at any specific tactics, we absolutely have to shatter a pervasive myth. You know the one, the myth of the natural-born sales winner. So many of us trap ourselves way below our true potential because we think, well, I just wasn't born with the gift of gab. But take a look at this Thomas Edison mindset. Failure is simply a required course correction on the path to success. There has literally never been a great salesperson who was born great. The ones who win? They're the people who realize that mastering this craft takes intentional, relentless work.
And that brings us to our roadmap for today. We'll be moving through 1. The mindset. 2. The language. 3. The hunt. 4. The arena. 5. The dragon. And finally, 6. The prize. Let's get to it.
Section 1. The mindset, the internal battle.
Every journey starts from within, right? In sales, that means conquering the internal battle of self-doubt. You see, the crucial point here is that nobody is born a champion. They simply invest the time, the effort, and the money to rigorously practice the absolute basics of their profession. It's exactly like a professional athlete endlessly drilling their footwork. A sales champion drills their prospecting, their initial contacts, their presentations, and their closes. They absolutely do not wing it. They practice, drill, and rehearse until it's pure muscle memory.
Section 2. The language. Acquiring the tools of persuasion.
Okay, now we need to arm ourselves with the right weapons. In sales, your primary tool is the language you use. The words you speak can either instantly trigger a prospect's fear, or they can build unshakable trust. Average salespeople use rejection words, terms that subconsciously scream, "You are being sold to." Champions use go-ahead terms. For instance, notice how a simple vocabulary shift changes the whole emotional temperature of a room. When you say cost or price, you trigger the fear of pressure. The prospect immediately thinks about losing their hard-earned money. But drop that word. Replace it with total investment. It subtly implies a future benefit, right? You invest in something to get a return. It completely disarms that initial anxiety.
And this leads us to another massive psychological shift. Let's be real. Absolutely no one wants to buy and part with their money. Sometimes physically opening up our wallets actually hurts. But on the flip side, everyone absolutely loves to own something new. Buying is the pain, owning is the pleasure. When you say, if you buy this today, the prospect feels the pinch. But if you say, when you own this, you are painting a vivid picture of them happily enjoying the benefits of whatever it is you're offering.
And then we have the absolute nastiest rejection word of all. Never, ever ask a client to sign a contract. The word sign immediately conjures up images of lawsuits, courtrooms, being locked in, and just deep trouble. Instead, ask them to approve the paperwork or authorize the agreement. It's a tiny tweak, but it keeps them feeling empowered and totally in control, rather than feeling trapped by a binding legal document. Now, beyond specific vocabulary, a champion also has to master the art of questioning. Pros use questions to gain and, more importantly, maintain control of the selling situation. One of the most powerful minor closes you can possibly learn is known as the porcupine technique. Think of it exactly like catching a live, prickly porcupine that someone just threw at you. You want to toss it right back as fast as you can.
Let's see how this actually plays out in the real world. Imagine your prospect asks, "Could I take delivery by the 1st of the month?" An average salesperson gets super excited, blurts out yes, and instantly gives away all their leverage. But a champion, they toss the porcupine right back. They say, "Does taking delivery by the 1st of the month best suit your needs?" Boom! If the prospect agrees, the sale is essentially made. You've answered a question with a question, you've kept control, and you successfully tested the waters for a close.
Section 3. The hunt. Setting out on the journey. With our language polished, it's time to set out on the hunt for future clients. Now, this is the prospecting phase, and for a lot of people, it's terrifying because of the fear of rejection. We naturally hate hearing the word no. But to be a champion, you have to fundamentally reframe your relationship with rejection. This number absolutely blew my mind when I first realized it. You need to calculate the literal cash value of every single no you hear. Let's do the math together. If it takes you 10 contacts to get one sale, and you earn $100 per sale, then every single contact you make is worth $10. You are literally getting paid $10 just to hear the word no.
Once you realize your earnings start with contacts, not sales, you'll actually start looking forward to being rejected. Every no puts cash in your pocket and gets you mathematically closer to a yes.
A champion also hunts smart by anticipating exactly when past clients will be ready to buy again. They track what's known as the itch cycle. So if you sell a product that people typically replace every 30 months, you don't just sit around waiting for the phone to ring. You intentionally make contact at month 28, right before the buyer's natural urge to replace their product even kicks in. You're essentially scratching the itch before they even realize they have it.
Section 4. The arena. Engaging the target.
Once we have our prospect, we step into the arena. The biggest mistake average salespeople make right here is putting their heads down and pitching blindly. They just start rambling about features. Champions, on the other hand, spend a significant chunk of time rigorously qualifying their prospect first. They guide the prospect through this simple 5-step needs sequence to uncover an absolute goldmine of information. You find out what they have now, what they enjoy about it, and crucially, what they want to alter. That A is everything. It ensures you only demonstrate the specific solutions they actually care about. Then you establish the decision maker who actually calls the shots. And finally, solution pre-closes them. If you can fix their problem, are they ready to proceed? If they say yes, you've officially earned the right to ask for the sale.
Section 5. The Dragon. Overcoming the word no.
Now Hero's journey is complete without facing a dragon, right? Well, in sales, that dragon is the prospect's objection. It's that gut check moment when they push back and pump the brakes. But remember, champions love objections because they are literally the rungs on the ladder to sales success. First, though, we have to recognize a vital difference. An objection is just a defense mechanism. It actually shows buying intent. They just need more information to feel safe. This is entirely different from a condition. A condition is a valid, unchangeable reason for not buying, like having absolutely zero money or zero authority. If you hit a true condition, a champion accepts it gracefully and walks away. But if it's just an objection, it is time to slay the dragon.
When you are facing a true objection, the absolute worst thing you can do is argue. Because if you win the argument, you lose the sale. Every time. Instead, neutralize the attack by following this simple 5-step system. Hear them out completely without interrupting. Then, feed the concern right back to them so they feel validated and heard. Next, question it for clarity. Answer it professionally. And finally, confirm that your answer actually resolved their issue. When you do this correctly, you are guiding the prospect to literally answer their own concern.
Section 6. The Prize. Closing the deal.
Having successfully navigated the hunt, qualified the prospect, and slain the dragon of objections, we finally arrive at the ultimate prize, the close. And closing is not about manipulation. It's about professionally guiding the prospect to a decision that truly benefits them. Now, one of the trickiest parts of closing is discussing money. When determining a budget, champions do not just bluntly ask what someone wants to spend. They use a brilliant psychological technique called the triplicate of choice, or bracketing. You anchor their expectations high by stating figures 20 to 100% above your actual price. So when you finally reveal your actual, much lower investment amount last, it doesn't feel like a heavy burden. It feels like a massive relief.
Throughout your entire presentation, you should constantly be taking the temperature of the room using test closes. Offer an alternate advance, like, would you prefer delivery on Tuesday or Thursday? Make an erroneous conclusion to see if they correct you, which proves they're actively engaged. And of course, use that porcupine technique we talked about earlier. You are constantly waiting for that sudden shift in pace, a change in their body language or the way they ask questions that signals the buyer is emotionally ready to take the leap. When it comes down to it, the only thing standing between you and the top 10% of your profession is exactly how you handle the word no. Remember, every single no has a literal cash value, and every failure is just a required course correction pointing you straight toward your goal. So I want to leave you with this. Now that you have these tools to reframe your fear and upgrade your language, are you ready to embrace your next no and claim your prize?